Hello, darling Etherians. This is Princess Jenny coming to you with some announcements before today's ep. So, our darling Meph has had a family medical emergency and needs to take a bit of time to be with their family. So in order to avoid taking another hiatus so soon after our last hiatus, we have called in some friends of the pod to help us keep going. So this episode was edited by Ashley, our original editor and tech producer. Thank you, Ashley. We fucking adore you. And our next episode will also be edited by Ashley. Our next episode has already been recorded. I just recorded it with our friend Adia, who also did our last bonus episode. Adia and I had an amazing conversation about a fantastic brand new animatic short that just dropped recently on YouTube called Pretty Please, I Don't Want to Be a Magical Girl. So you can all go out and watch it before you come back for our next episode. It's only 11 minutes long. You're going to absolutely adore it. It's got a ton of buzz around it, so that's the main thrust of our conversation. And then we also went back and did a deeper dive on Amphibia and Heartbreak High, which are two things that Adia told us about in our last bonus ep that I had not seen, but now I've seen them. So we went back and did a deeper dive on autistic representation and all other types of representation that are in those two shows. They're just absolutely fantastic. We had a really fun convo. So thank you, Adia. Thank you, Ashley, for helping us stay the course during difficult times. Queer community, man, we're all about it. So that's what's going to happen in the immediate future. Depending on how things are going for Meph's family, I might do another bonus episode after that, or we might come back to the next episodic episode. We'll see where we are, but we will not leave you high and dry, friends. We have a plan. We have great content for you. And so now you have time to get ready for what's coming. And my last note before we dive into today's episode is there is a great new book that just dropped that I want to draw your attention to. If you can remember back to our Israel-Palestine bonus ep, Israel-Palestine and Etheria, one of the many links that I shared with you was there was a queer Jewish anti-Zionist expert named Sim Kern who did at least one of the videos in that bounty of links that I gave you. They're an author, but up until recently, they were an author of fiction. But this past year, they were asked by the only Palestinian publishing company in the United States to write a book about anti-Zionism and the situation in Gaza, and they have now done that, and it just dropped this week as of the recording. It will have been out a few days longer by the time you hear it, called Genocide Bad. It dropped on April 22nd. It's an amazing book, full of incredibly accessible information. You know, they are not a stuffy academic. It's very accessible, it's very readable, and it's been vetted by, you know, international academic sources. And I think that everyone who is a fan of this pod would really love it. So I'm going to put a link for that book in today's show notes. I can't recommend it enough. If you were a fan of that episode and a fan of this type of highly accessible information about what the fuck is the real story with the history of Zionism, how did this happen? How did we get here? Sim would love to help you understand and give you highly accessible information about that. So check out Genocide Bad. And now, on with the show.
Hey folks, and welcome to Hey Adora, your queer sheer podcast. I am Force Captain Meph, they, them.
And I'm Princess Jenny, she, her.
And we are very excited to take control today.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, so today we are taking control with a little side wander to the famous / infamous, maybe written by Nate Stevenson, fic, Don't Go. Taking Control is Season 5, Episode 6. It was written by Laura Shreebney. It was storyboarded by Charlemagne Coe, Sasha Much, and Belinda Smith, directed by Mandy Clotworthy. And I really think of this episode, so Jenny and I were having a conversation before we recorded, because we like each other, and...
You're okay.
You're fine. You're good. You're good. And we were talking about how we feel like this episode is kind of more of a coda to Save the Cat. It's almost like Save the Cat and Taking Control are more of a kind of its own movie, more than like two separate episodes. And I feel like it's like the emotional closure for Save the Cat.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, in today's narrative structure world, in the world of streaming, not every episode has to be a standalone chunk the way that, in the 80s and 90s, every episode was very much a standalone chunk.
Yeah, exactly. We've kind of moved away from the monster of the week kind of story narrative that was especially popular in the 80s and the 90s, and kind of moved into more of the, every season tells its own story. But this in particular is very much like thematically kind of like
the last episode flows into this episode.
Yeah.
Very organically.
Very organically. And it's like, let's watch the kids make up. So I think I'm ready to get my heart melted just a tiny, tiny bit.
Yes, a tiny bit more, you mean, than we already did.
A tiny bit more. I have a little story to tell you, Jenny. Do you want to pull up a chair next to the fire and I will tell you a story?
Oh, I would love to. I'll grab my marshmallows.
Great. So before we get into taking control, I would like to talk to you about Don't Go. Why do I keep saying don't go? Okay. So on May 23rd, 2020, Nate posted a drawing he did of Catra and Adora holding each other sleeping sweetly with the caption, "The war is over and we are beginning," which are lyrics from the Canadian indie band Star Song, "In our bedroom after the war." Okay, we got another nugget. On Tuesday, June 9th, Nate and Molly did a live stream fundraiser for Black Lives Matter. In this live stream, among many, many other nuggets of She-Ra trivia, backstory, queer joy, so much queer joy, Nate disclosed that he maybe kind of sort of wrote a She-Ra fic. So he dropped hints about this fic, including the fact that it is a one-shot. It is the only fanfiction he's ever posted on AO3, which is an archive of our own, which is a fanfiction consortium site.
Everybody knows AO3.
Everybody knows AO3. And that it took place in space. He later posted and then deleted a tweet referring to his love of the genre of hurt comfort fic, which is exactly what it sounds like. One person is hurt and the other one comforts them.
Yeah, my personal favorite fanfic genre.
Really?
Because I am a soft, squishy marshmallow, of course.
Aww. I love that. I love evil AUs.
I know that.
Yes, as we all know. So the internet did its internet thing, and they found this fic. It's a Hurt Comfort Catradora /fic that features a scene that was exactly the scene in the image that he posted on May 23rd. So this was 3 days after the fic, the image was posted. When he has been asked multiple times if this was the fic that he read, he was coy about it, as he I think legally has to be.
Yeah, I think it's a legal issue because I even mentioned it to him at that panel that I was in with him at FlameCon last summer. And he was, very deliberately coy. Yeah. Like, literally, he said it like this, like, "I don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah.
And that, like, was, he wouldn't say anymore. Like, he really shut me down, but it was in a way that was like, he clearly couldn't talk about it.
Right, exactly. And the same thing happened to a friend of mine when we went to go meet him at Comic-Con here.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a legal issue why he can't talk about it.
There's definitely a legal issue, but I mean, he wrote it.
Yeah.
So the fic is called Don't Go. We're going to include the link for it in our show notes. And it takes place in two separate times. The first part takes place directly after Save the Cat, where it's literally like Adora carries Catra from the floor of the spaceship and prepares a room for her, and then, essentially like helps her calm down and fall asleep. The second part of the fic takes place directly after this episode, Taking Control. So that's all I'm going to give you for now, but maybe, just maybe, if you keep tuning in, you'll be able to hear a little discussion that Jenny and I have about this fic.
Maybe we'll have a little bonus app with a fantastic expert.
Maybe we will. So why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because
it would be criminal not to.
It would be criminal not to. Many fans do consider it to be kind of like a slice of life canon type of thing. And also the playlist that I made is schmoopy because of it.
Absolutely.
So the first half of Don't Go takes place right before this, And now we're going to jump into our episode.
Our episode that begins in medias res, in the midst of things.
Oh, we learned stuff.
Yeah. I know Anthony said in media res, but there is an S on the end in medias res. And Latin is not a spoken language, so I don't know if there's agreement about whether it should be silent S or not.
I don't know. That's true. It is not a spoken language. Yeah, it might be one of those.
I don't know Latin, so
yeah.
Who knows? But that's where we are. We're in the middle of things. Alarms are alarming. Things are chaotic on this little ship, as Entrapta is trying to repair the ship while they are flying the ship.
We even have, the Entrapta's tech babble, and Bo is like, I don't know what that is. Bo generally doesn't. I don't know what that is when Entrapta is tech babbling, which means it's really techy.
Yeah, and I would also be worried if I had to fly a ship while someone was repairing it, regardless of how much faith I had in them. That's a scary situation.
Absolutely. And also crushing void of space.
Yes!
Crushing void of space.
Yeah. And Rong Hordak boops out with a blowtorch.
Yeah, we're excited that Entrapta has another lab partner.
Yeah, she has a new lovely assistant.
Rong Hordak. And
He's very enthusiastic and innocent and bright-eyed.
And I love that they referred to him, to his face, as Rong Hordak. It's so good.
Yeah, he's clearly not insulted. He doesn't know Hordak.
No, he doesn't. That's his name, He just knows.
He's wide-eyed and rosy-cheeked.
And so innocent because, they kind of fried and scrambled his brains a little bit.
Yep.
And I love when Bo says that, and there's the overwrought old soap opera organ stab. It's really funny.
As we watch him marvel at the glow of fire.
So
yes. So we've established him here.
Oh my gosh.
And then enter Adora. With the manic pitch of someone who has just rescued her true love from the clutches of purest evil, unspeakable torture, and certain death, and now has no idea how to let them out of her sight for 5 minutes.
Yep, exactly. I was absolutely going to say that, and with the whomst among us has not been in this situation.
Yeah, I really get it.
I get that, where it's oh my God, somebody that you love has just gone through an incredibly traumatic event, and you're really trying to do everything you can for them, but you don't know how to do everything, but you still want to be there, but you have to let them rest.
And you really just want to make sure they're okay. I have been in that situation in a variety of ways, but one specific example that's really popping to my mind is I had a really good friend once who was wrongfully arrested. And while I was trying to get them out of jail, figure out where they were, up all night in the Kings County court system, what I didn't know until the morning when I finally got them out is that they had a really critical kidney infection, and I had to take them. Well, I didn't take them. I had to go with them to, the really, really, really shitty Kings County hospital. Brooklyn is in Kings County. This is the worst county hospital where they take, people who are in the prison system. And my friend is handcuffed to a bed, with a critical kidney infection, getting the worst treatment possible. I'm advocating for them throughout this whole process. When it was finally all over and we got home, my friend was like, I'm fine now. I'm going to leave. And I was like, you can't leave. You're still really ill. You're still peeing blood. Please lie down and let me take care of you. And they were really resistant to that.
Oh my gosh,
and I was
Jenny.
just desperate to take care of them, and they did not want to be cared for.
Oh my gosh.
And they eventually, calmed down and had a little bit of a nervous breakdown. And I was like, it's okay to have a breakdown. Please just don't leave.
Oh my gosh.
So, I understand how Adora feels right now, really deeply.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've been on both sides of the situation here, and it's feeling paralyzed by love and care. It's a really weird kind of
and trauma.
And it's poor Adora. But of course
everyone involved has PTSD. So of course, even when you're the person trying to do the caring, you're also experiencing your own PTSD flashbacks, and it's all tangled up.
And we're seeing that with Adora here, where she's just no, I have to do this. I have to get it right. I have to take care of Catra. It's my responsibility. And it's just, this is so realistic, but also because it's this show and they really know how to ride that line, it's also funny. Yeah. But it's not, and it's funny in kind of, It's funny in that way that it would be funny if your best friends were doing it. And I think that's why I liked it so much, because a lot of stuff in this episode is very, very dark.
It is. And they really know how to ride that line to keep you from tumbling down into the darkness. It's like, oh, it's also kind of funny. Like, they know how to break that tension with humor.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. They're breaking the tension. They're not making light of it. And I think that's why I love this, especially the scene here where we have, to build this scene, essentially Bo and Glimmer are like, Adora, chill out, let Catra get some rest. And Adora's like, no, I need to keep going and checking on her. But one of my favorite, really comedic scene here is when Adora is like walking and looking backwards and is like, I'm just gonna go this way now. And we see Glimmer just like standing there out of nowhere, like, no.
Yeah. I really like what you just said about how they managed to break the tension without making light of the serious stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, they find the humor without making light of the seriousness of people's emotions. And, you know, that's how you break tension with humor without trivializing it.
Absolutely. And that's also a really good way to explain this and kind of compel this story in a way that is impactful enough for older viewers, but like still gives kind of some breathing space for younger viewers to fully absorb it without getting fully overwhelmed by what's happening.
Absolutely. And that's something that Buffy does really well, too.
Buffy does do that very well, yes.
I'm thinking of episodes like Hush.
Yes.
Which is, you know, when I made my Buffy documentary in undergrad, and I interviewed all my friends, like, what do you love most about Buffy? Hush was an episode that people kept bringing up. And I remember one of my friends specifically when she was talking about Hush, and she's like, you know, you're scared and you're laughing, and you're scared and you're laughing, and Giles is pantomiming big scary monsters, and, you know, how can that not, you know, affect you? And how can you not laugh even if you were terrified a second ago? And I cut that together with, you know, the scene where they're in the classroom and he has to use the overhead projector to tell them, you know, what their mission is because they've all lost their voices. And it's very funny, even though it's very serious.
Yeah. No, Buffy is really a master at that kind of tone balance.
Yeah. And,
I
you know,
agree.
this is, you know, they achieve that same tone balance. And that's why I love horror comedies so much. It's a great way to, you know, to break, you know, there's, you can achieve balance by having everything have the same tone, or you can achieve balance by having, you can have a chaotic balance.
Right. Yes.
You know, either way, it's still in balance. And then it's a more dynamic balance.
Yeah, I agree. This is just a fantastic little nugget of how they do that here.
Right. Because they're also discussing in this scene the return of She-Ra without the sword. She manifests the sword now. The sword isn't bringing She-Ra back. She is bringing She-Ra back.
She is bringing She-Ra back. But was like, how did you do all that without the sword? And Adora says, I don't know. I just felt her suddenly, like she never left. Like she's been there all along, just waiting to come out. And then I just wrote under that, gay. So
it is very gay.
It's very gay.
And it's also, I have a callback here because Glimmer says, you know, she'll figure it out. And the important thing is that She-Ra was there when her friends needed her. And so remember back in season 1, when we talked about Adora not knowing how to turn on She-Ra when she first started being She-Ra, and how, you know, this is reflected in other shows like Avatar. Aang didn't know how to turn on the Avatar state when he first became the Avatar. And, you know, they both had to figure it out. And in the past, in various episodes, I've talked about how growth is a spiral. It's not a straight line. You know, you learn the same lessons over and over, but at a higher level. So this is Adora leveling up. She's learning all over again how to be herself, her truest self, just at a higher level, but the same essential way that she did before.
Yeah. That's a really great callback, Jenny.
Thank y'all.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yes. But so Glimmer now is super positivity girl.
She is. I kind of love how positive Glimmer is. I like positive Glimmer. We haven't seen positive Glimmer in a really long time.
Because, you know, like, she's been rescued. Yeah. All of her fears and doubts have been put aside. And she's 100% back on the best friend squad wagon. She doesn't care how many setbacks they face, as long as they are facing away from Horde Prime.
Which is fair.
Totally fair. And in fact, she's going to make them all a special dinner tonight to celebrate Because they all deserve some queer joy right about now, and good food is always queer joy.
Absolutely. And, Glimmer is really hype about having all these people that she really likes there. Bo and Adora and Catra, and Bo is kind of on board with this. Glimmer mentions that, to Adora that all of your friends are here when you needed her, and Bo hasn't had the connection moment with Catra that both Glimmer and Adora have had.
Right, somebody who tried to kill him one time?
Yeah, threw me off a cliff once. And, I think it's interesting that, Bo is he's the heart of, he's the heart of the group. He's the open heart. He's the accepting one, all of these things. But he's still allowed to be like, I don't know, she tried to kill me. And I like that little sarcastic little nit, think that Bo kind of
it's reasonable for him to have reservations about someone who threw him off a cliff.
Yeah, I mean, I would.
I would too. He's also skeptical about Glimmer's ability to provide them dinner because he has never seen her cook.
True, but to be fair, he is trying to steer a ship while all of this emotional processing is happening, and that's kind of stressful.
Yeah, it's a lot of multitasking.
So, he's doing okay.
Yeah. But Glimmer is still unfazed because she says wrong Hordak can help.
Yeah. And, I bet you he knows a lot about cooking. Jenny, I just really love Wrong Hordak because he just pops in all happy. And
I love his can-do attitude.
I do too.
Because he definitely does not know anything about cooking because, as he later reveals, he usually subsists on nutrient-rich amniotic fluid.
I like that he managed to leave the velvet glove, the Our Lady of Perpetual Death Star, with a little vial of amniotic fluid for himself, so he could just drink it. I don't know.
Yeah, but he's still happy to help. He is honored to provide nourishment for his exalted brothers.
I also love his non-gendered use of brother.
I was going to say you can take the clone out of the fratriarchy, but you can't take the fratriarchy out of the clone. You could say it's a non-gendered use of brother, or you could say that he just thinks everyone is a brother, and
he just thinks everyone is a brother.
That not everyone is a brother.
Yeah.
But he'll get there. Baby steps.
Baby steps. Right now, he's just happy to help.
Yeah, and Adora's just going to go check on Catra one more time real quick.
Yep, and Bo is like, okay, I can't deal with that. And I can't deal with whatever cooking mess is going to happen here. And I can't really deal with Entrapta doing her blowtorch on the ship. I'm just going to focus on driving.
Yeah, everybody scatters. Bo is left alone. And my last note for this scene is just steer the ship, Bo. You're never going to wrangle all these messy bitches.
No, it's true. It's true. just keep eyes ahead.
Yeah, and then we get
10 and 2, buddy.
Tiny beat of a scene of Horde Prime's fleet just to see, we see ships that are manned entirely by the Battlestar Galactica bots.
Oh, yeah.
No living creatures. And we see a little signal booping up on the screen. What could that signal possibly be? And the ships all zoop out in pursuit of that little signal.
Yep. And then we have
credits.
The question of are we going to win in the end comes up once again.
It's looking a lot more positive now than it was before.
It really is.
But still a bit tenuous. It could go either way.
It really could go either way.
But, our energy levels are definitely higher up than they have ever been. We've got She-Ra back. We've got our team back together.
Yep. We got Catra.
We got Catra.
Well, we have Catra's there. I don't know if we have Catra yet. I don't know if Catra has Catra yet.
Yeah, I mean, she's out of Scary Danger Town.
She's out of Scary Danger Town / the physical version. But as we come back into Catra in the room that they set up for her, she is having
it's
some visions.
Yes, it's tenuous.
And I'm just going to go through this real quick. Catra grunts and pants in her sleep as she tosses and turns, voices layering upon each other, whispering as flashes of Catra's memories of her time being chipped are shown. And, Horde Prime's voice always overlaying the flashes. That's kind of a really high-level description of this. But one thing that I hadn't noticed until my watching of this, and I've watched this episode a lot, is the POV shot of Catra being lowered into the evil baptismal pool, looking at Prime and all the clones looking down at her. Like, I just noticed that, how terrifying that is. Holy shit. And having that just be like, every time you close your eyes, you see this. Like...
Yeah, I actually didn't look super closely at what those flashbacks were. I was just like, yeah, nightmare flashback torture.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, that is terrifying.
Right? Like I usually do, and then I was like, oh, okay, let's pay a little bit more attention here because you're recording an episode, not just watching it over and over again.
No,
I was like,
that is terrifying.
God,
Absolutely,
it's horrible.
No question.
And she wakes up, in a cold sweat. And whomst among us here has not woken up in a cold sweat from a terrifying trauma dream, I ask?
I can't imagine. One of the things I noticed in this scene is that as soon as she wakes up, she seems to be like mad at herself for having an emotional reaction. That could be my interpretation, but she's like, oh, like, you stupid person, why are you upset? Like, just get over it already.
I think that's a really, really fair interpretation of that, because she does she's like, where am I? Like, she does the, like, awake screaming, not knowing where she is, and then she goes, oh.
But then as soon as she gets her bearings, she's like, ugh. Like, you're fine. Nothing's wrong with you now. Just, get over it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a really fair interpretation of that.
And often people who are short-tempered and unforgiving with other people, they're even more short-tempered and unforgiving with themselves.
Oh, yeah. It's got to start somewhere.
Yeah, so it's easy to imagine that she would be, mean to herself and unforgiving with herself.
Absolutely.
But she only gets to be alone with those feelings for a second.
Because Adora just comes right in.
She doesn't knock.
She doesn't knock. She comes in and she's doing that thing where... So this episode, I can really heavily identify with both Catra and Adora in this episode because, as I'd mentioned, and I think Jenny, said, we've both been in both sides of the situation before. And the way that Adora comes in is very much that, like, I'm here to help. Oh, I have to be calm. Hi, I'm here to help. How do I do this? How do I keep all my nervous energy and wanting to do all of the things and fix all of the things for you at once? But also hold the space that you need, which is not that.
Yeah, actually, this might be a little too personal, but I'm comfortable sharing it. I can't really identify with Catra because although I have had plenty of trauma, I've never really had anyone try to help me through it.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Not like this, not like they were like immediately in my space being like, how can I help? What do you need? I'm here for you. Not like that.
Yeah. Fair.
Which sucks, but it's the reality.
Right. That's fair.
I wish, that I had someone actually sitting next to me being like, hey, I'm here for you. I want to help you. That would have been great. I might be less fucked up if that were the case, but I heavily identify with Adora in this situation and I don't identify with Catra at all.
I identify with Catra in this from a number of different times, but I was specifically thinking of times where I've been in major physical accidents. Like I've been in multiple car accidents and I can remember times where I just wanted to zone out because I was in so much pain and I kept having people come in and be like, how can I fix this? How can I fix this? And I'm like,
I can understand that.
Give me some weed. I don't because Catra did go through like a physical traumatic thing as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's both.
So, I definitely, especially when she's so on edge and we see her when Adora comes in with all this energy, Catra jumps, right? And that's also the sort of thing that definitely happens in a trauma situation. I know that when I've been in situations where I was in a car accident and in recovery, if somebody like dropped something, I would jump because it's a loud, sudden noise. So
it's understandable, if you've been through an emotional trauma too, that you would be in a state of hypervigilance.
Absolutely. So we have sweet baby Catra here in a state of hypervigilance while Adora is just bringing all of this nervous, I want to fix you, I love you, what can I do energy in. Yeah. Neither one of them is still at a place where they can kind of, be on a wavelength because both of them are kind of bringing their own shit into this right now.
Yeah. I mean, both points of view are understandable.
Absolutely. Both points of view are understandable.
So, you know, Adora, and to be fair, I don't think Adora is coming in with like crazy manic energy.
No, it's
she
not.
just sits down quietly on the bed and asks her if she's still having the flashes.
Yeah. She definitely brings it together, comes in, goes to like reach out to Catra. There's a lot of, once again, we have our favorite Adora and Catra reaching for each other and not connecting, and finally we have some really good connections.
And that's like gut-wrenching, that moment where like, you know, Catra has turned away from Adora on the bed, and Adora like reaches out to touch her shoulder and then like hesitates and then pulls her hand back. Gutting. It's absolutely gutting. And what does Catra say?
You know, so Adora asks if she's still getting the visions, and of course Catra, yes, I keep having this horrible vision of a blonde girl who thinks she's better than everyone, barging in my room all day. Okay, girl.
Oh, wait.
Right? Like, okay, girl, whatever.
And now my next bullet is that at this point, if this were any earlier stage in their relationship, we would expect Adora to react angrily out of hurt and lash out and say something cutting. But she doesn't.
No.
She just sits there with a little half smile and takes it and remains optimistic with her reply.
Yeah, she does.
And she says, we'll find a way to get the chip off. If you just let Entrapta take a look at it, I bet she could. ...
And Catra's like, oh, no, nope. She doesn't want to see anyone. And, you know.
She puts a pillow over her face.
Yep. She definitely doesn't want to see Entrapta, but not, she goes through all of her nicknames for everybody. Arrow Boy, Sparkles.
Yeah.
Definitely not Entrapta, because shame is a powerful thing. And
of course.
She's feeling shame for, she's feeling shame for what she did to Entrapta, and, you know, needs to learn how to kind of get to that and ask for forgiveness, or even just say, I'm sorry to Entrapta, because the only person we've seen her say sorry to ever is Adora when she thought she was going to die.
Right.
So
I think it's probably a combination, like, I 100% agree with you. I think it's a combination of shame and feeling vulnerable.
Yes, I agree.
Maybe if she felt less vulnerable, it would be easier for her to say she was sorry.
Right. And also, and to kind of tag on to that idea of vulnerability, it's like also she has to then ask Entrapta for something.
Right, exactly, because of the vulnerable position she's in right now.
Yes. So,
but Adora, you know, still in this moment is maintaining, you know, her gentle tone and her open body language and not being angry, and she kind of pulls the pillow away from Catra's face. And she says, so you're just going to hide in here forever? You'll have to face them sometime. You know, and she could have said that, like, so you're just going to stay in here forever? Like, she could have said it like that.
Right, but she doesn't.
But she's really, you know, like, she's succeeding at really just staying open and, like, you know, trying to maintain, like, an honest, loving connection here. And Catra turns away from her again and says, no, I don't. Just drop me off at the closest planet. I'll make my own way.
That sort of like isolation is just, Catra is going back to what she knows, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and I do, like, the one way that I identify with Catra in this scene is that, like, when you feel vulnerable, it can be difficult to the point of impossibility to ask for help when you feel like a burden.
Oh, absolutely.
That I identify with.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally get that. And also, Catra hasn't been around to learn the lessons that we've learned throughout the series, that you can rely on your friends and win in the end.
It's taken everybody else 5 seasons to learn that, and Catra hasn't been around for any of that.
Catra has, like, an accelerated timeline here. She gotta learn that shit quick, so...
Yeah. But so now, finally, Adora is starting to get mad.
Yes, which is fair. Like, you can only hold patience for so long.
They're just starting to lay the groundwork for a new path forward with each other.
Right.
And so this is going to be messy no matter what.
It's going to be messy. These are just some messy
she says,
bitches.
What, so Horde Prime can capture you again?
And Catra, you know, once again says, well, I can take care of myself. And
she says it pretty angrily. Like, she's not quite yelling. Does. She's like, I can take care of myself.
And this is the thing that pushes Adora over the edge.
Yes. But I still like the way she handles this. The way, like, she stands up and she flips Catra's mattress with Catra on it, dumping her onto the floor. So that's a good way to, like, force her out of bed without putting hands on her or being directly aggressive.
I didn't think about that, but I like that.
Yeah, I thought about that. When I was in my early 20s, when I was taking time off from college, I worked at a group home that was sort of like last stop before juvie for kids who had like behavioral problems at school. And it's like, this is your last chance not to go to juvie. So those kids were all violent offenders. And we had like a lot of really specific ways. It's like, you can't put your hands on them except for really specific situations where they were like a serious danger to themselves or others.
Mm-hmm.
But there were situations where like, these are some creative ways, you know, that you can like protect yourself or protect them from danger without putting hands on them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so I noticed that. I was like, you're dealing with the situation in a way that doesn't, you know, force you to escalate physical aggression.
Right, right.
But it's like forcing her to deal with you still.
It's forcing her to deal with you. And also, like, I understand Adora's anger because she, you know, like,
I didn't just save your life to let you get captured again, is Adora's vibe right now.
Yeah, exactly. Only Adora says it as, I promise to take you home, and that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Right.
And she doesn't understand. She's like, we saved your life.
Right. Why are you acting like this?
And Catra was like, you didn't, like, I told you not to come back. Like, she didn't want her life to be saved.
Right, but you just love feeling like a hero, don't you?
Also, like,
which
Catra,
is, like, not why Adora did what she did at all.
Also, it's like, Catra, I think you're not, like, looking in on yourself for that, because what you did was a heroic self-sacrificing act.
Right. She's not seeing herself clearly in this moment either.
So it's like, oh, really, girl? Okay.
She's not seeing any of the situation clearly.
She's not seeing, I mean, yeah, she definitely can't right now. She doesn't
of course
she doesn't have the space away from it.
So Adora yells back, you'd rather I left you there to die? And then Catra yells, what do you care? I know you all hate me. And that's when Adora finally cracks and she goes from anger to vulnerability and says, I never hated you. And like, you know, she has anguish in her voice. She does not look angry. She just looks heartbroken.
Yeah, and we all are heartbroken.
Yes, and obviously that's a major gayest moment, obviously.
Absolutely. I didn't even write that down because I knew that you were, you know.
Because it's so obvious. It like, doesn't
so
need to be
obvious.
said. Water is wet, everyone.
Water is wet. This type of argument is a very gay one that you have with an ex.
Yes, and then they just stare at each other for a hot second in silence. Before Catra retreats to the mattress on the floor, sitting down with her back to Adora, and says quietly, then you're even dumber than I thought. Ugh.
Jesus. And then tells Adora to leave her alone. Adora says, I am such an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Thought things would be different, but clearly nothing has changed. Mm-hmm. Oh, gosh. Adora. Girl.
Adora walks out. She kind of like, you know, huffs out angrily. And Catra turns and looks out after her as she leaves, looking sad and regretful, with her ears drooping down,
sad.
and curls in on herself in this posture of defeat.
Oh, Jenny.
And this entire exchange, the whole conversation that they have just had, reminds me of something that my mom used to say when I was a kid, when she was doing, you know, a lot of therapy and meditation. She used to say that anger is a secondary emotion, meaning that it's always covering a primary emotion, either fear, pain, grief. You know, if you can work through what you're angry about, it's usually protecting you from a deeper emotion that's more painful. Like, you know, it's just easier to be angry.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it is. For a lot of people.
Yeah. Than to admit to yourself that you're just devastated by loss or pain or rejection, etc.
Yep.
So, you know, like if they feel safe enough to express what they're really feeling, the anger kind of melts away.
But, you know, we don't, Catra's not there yet. And Catra, I mean, that is kind of Catra's whole MO, right? Like, she's never felt safe enough to express what she's really feeling, so she...
Exactly.
She just angers all over the place with her anger.
Right, exactly. But we're starting to see, you know, little bits of the more authentic stuff peeking through.
Yeah.
So we're going to leave them there.
We're going to leave them there.
To stew on their stuff. And we're going to boop on back to Etheria to the rebel camp.
Oh, we got the rebel camp. We got some dudes being dudes. Dudes rocking over here. We got Swifty and Micah.
We love Swifty and Micah.
We do. We love our good dudes. And Swifty is like, listen, I'm telling you, I felt her. She-Ra is back. That sacred bond shit is just like revving up. He knows it's there.
He's feeling some vibes.
He's feeling some vibes. People are like, all right, dude. You know, like not really paying that much to it, but
no,
still
they're just
like,
sort of walking and talking.
That's
and
great.
as they're walking and talking, they walk past Frosta, Spinny, and Atassa playing volleyball with a giant ball of ice, which seems totally fine.
It sounds like totally no one's going to get hurt. It's totally fine.
I'm sure if you get hit with a giant ball of ice, it doesn't hurt at all.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. It reminds me of those like, you know, gotcha like riddles where it's like a man was found with a stab wound and no one could in a puddle
and there's
of
a puddle
water,
on the floor
right?
and there's no weapon.
Yeah,
How can this be?
Exactly. It's like, the answer is man.
Yes.
I love this gayest moment. Frosta having a lovely queer fam moment with everyone's favorite lesbian aunties. I love our lesbian aunties.
Yeah, our competitive lesbian aunties.
I love how they're being competitive even with a child.
Yes, well, it's Natasa who cannot turn it off.
Who she really can't, and I love her for that.
Yeah, like if and when they have kids, assuming that they are eventually going to have kids, she's going to be the mom who pathologically cannot let her kid win at anything.
Nope, definitely not. But it's funny. I mean, it's played for laughs.
Of course,
here.
it's hilarious.
And Frosta is just over the moon. She's having a great time.
Yes, she's the undefeated champion of Ice Ball!
And it's weird, but, you know, it just keeps happening because the wins are just so weird. And then Frosta just keeps winning, right?
Yes.
Natasa noticed that too.
Still insists that doesn't count. Much like the Big Cheeto thinks that federal judges' orders don't count if the plane is over international waters.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that don't count when you are, you know.
When you're a Big Cheeto.
When you're a Big Cheeto.
Just doesn't count.
Just doesn't count. Doesn't count.
I think the Cheetos are just in his brain.
I think so.
Yeah.
So after we learn that Frosta is the undefeated champion of Ice Ball, we have a wonderful romantic kiss between Spinnerella and Natasa. And it's this beautiful, like, I think this is actually the first kiss that we see on the show. Like, the first, like, romantic kiss between a couple.
You're probably right. Their relationship is so normal to me, I don't think I've ever even noticed.
Yeah.
Whether they kiss or when they kiss.
They have, like, a wonderful adult lesbian aunties that are so super in love with each other. And Spinnerella pulls Natasa in for a kiss, and it's giggly,
right.
And she's,
I totally, I'm sure I noticed it, but I also didn't notice it because it's just married people kiss.
Yeah, and she's blushing, and it's just it's very adult.
Yes,
like we very rarely see, because this is a kid's show or a show that is, skewed for younger viewers.
Right.
And, our protagonists are in their late teens or early 20s. We very rarely see adults having an adult moment, full grown ass adults, being people.
Yeah.
And not just parents.
That's right.
Or mentors. And this is the two of them just being people.
I can't believe I didn't even write that down.
It's okay. It was very romantic.
Major queer oversight. Bad Jenny.
It's okay. So anyway, gayest moment.
Fantastic.
Really good gayest moment.
That's why it's so important that there's two of us. Queer redundancy, baby.
Saying queer redundancy. Yep. So adult gayest moment. Not
Huzzah.
Adult gayest moment.
Yes.
But a gay moment between two married adult homosexuals.
Yes.
That love each other. So then we have Micah doing the worst. Hey, kiddo, how'd you like to play some ice ball? I'm a cool guy. Want me to be your new dad? So awkward, Jenny.
Oh, very awkward.
Oh, it's so awkward. But I thought this was really interesting because in the beginning of the second season, we see Frosta wanting to be Glimmer's little sister. And now kind of Frosta has that almost hey girl, you want to be someone's little sister? Well, here's her dad.
Yeah. I guess she doesn't see that correlation so directly.
Yeah.
Because with Glimmer, she sees it not as an exact peer relationship,
Sure.
but more like a peer relationship, like
Sure.
little sister, big sister.
Right.
And this guy, you know, she sees him as infantilizing her.
It's like, you're not my dad.
She doesn't want to be infantilized. She's the ruler of her own kingdom.
Also,
Thank you very much.
Does she have parents? Or is this like one of those situations, like a Tutankhamun type of thing, where like the kid's the figurehead and the ruler is like an adult advisor? This is probably...
We've never seen her with any adult advisor. It's been made pretty clear that she has worked very hard to be a mature ruler of her kingdom.
I mean, she's ruling the kingdom pretty decently.
Yeah, we've never had any backstory on, like, where are this kid's parents?
Right. Like, girl, where are your parents? And it's like, they left.
As far as we know, she does not. I mean, you know, she had to have parents at some point, but maybe they died in the war when she was a baby. You know, who knows?
Yeah. So anyway, I was just thinking about that. So Micah is having his adult feelings about being a bad dad. So how come kids don't like me? Oh my God, am I going to be a bad dad? What if Glimmer doesn't like me? And, you know, Spinny's just like, it's okay. Frost has been having a hard time. Like, adults comforting each other, being adults.
Yeah, they tell him not to take it personally, but he indeed takes it super personally.
Yeah, and we have a nice little parallel here with Micah and Catra being unsure of what their status at home is.
Yeah. That's a good point.
And I thought that was a nice little parallel between the two of them. Because you don't really actually see that many parallels between the two of them.
Yeah, that's true.
But there is kind of an ongoing, like, tension about home in this episode. And where is home and what is home and how do we get home?
Yeah. And what is my status going to be when I get there?
And who is home? You know, that's another one. Like, is Glimmer going to, are Glimmer and Micah going to be each other's homes, right? Like the idea of family as home. Yeah. So there's a lot of insecurity around that.
Absolutely. And then we get a nice segue into Micah telling Spinny and Natasha that they have just gotten word of the Horde being sighted near Elberon. So they gotta go check on those guys.
And Swifty is just very inappropriate here.
Yes, he's got a little bit of Schadenfreude.
I know. It's like, fuck yeah, Elberon. Those bros know how to party, but I love them. Boo for them.
I mean, boo for them to be in trouble, but yay for us, because they throw the best victory parties.
And then I wrote a really corny joke here, and I'm going to tell it.
Yes, please.
I love a communist party animal.
Amen.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Mwah.
Thank you.
So they agree that they all need some fun, especially Frosta, so let's all go off to save Elberon and enjoy one of those sick victory parties.
Right? It's like, do you want to go... It's like, well, we could save this nunnery, or we could save this rave warehouse. Which one do we go to? You know.
Not that they're presented with a choice like that.
They're not.
It's just like, the rave is in trouble? Oh no, that's terrible.
I hate when the rave is in trouble.
Let's go save the rave.
All right, free drugs for all. Okay.
Yay.
So now we go back to Darla.
Yes.
We are in the galley. It says Darla pantry, but it's a ship.
It's a ship, so it's a galley.
So it's a galley.
Yes.
Good for me.
Good for you.
Good for me. I remembered that. So Glimmer is looking through 1,000-year-old food.
Correct.
Sure. Though I would have to assume that a couple of things. One, that they at least packed some food on the ship before they left, like non-1,000-year-old food. Two, or they have eaten some of this food because they cannot just sustain themselves on amniotic fluid.
I mean, listen, I'm filing this 1,000-year-old food under the same category as spacesuits can't have hair holes, and I'm just letting it all go.
That's totally fair. What is more important than them being like, oh, there's old food here, is Adora just having a time.
Venting to Glimmer that she can't believe Catra's still a stubborn brat.
That's the one. She's driving me crazy. I thought we could fix things. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, and Glimmer's like, this is Catra we're talking about. Did you think she was just going to instantly become a totally different person?
Right. Also, I have this as a gayest moment.
Oh, absolutely.
Because Adora's just ready to get back with her ex and make things normal. And there's just something really super gay about calling your ex that you're trying to work things out with and process a brat. There's just really something super gay about calling somebody a brat.
That's funny because the specific part that was the gayest moment for me was Adora's no. When Glimmer's like, did you think she was going to be a totally different person overnight? And Adora's like, no.
Yeah, that is also
gay. That goes in the Sullen Lesbian Hall of Fame.
Excellent. Absolutely. This whole scene is just chock full of gay moments. We can just pick out little nuggets of gay in each of these sentences.
Yeah. But the rest of Adora's line is important.
It is.
'Cause she says, I thought she'd at least try. We all risked our lives to save her. And she can't even say thank you. Can you believe that? And then she throws a pack of some weird purple gelatin in frustration, and it hits Rog Hordak in the face, who seems totally fine with it, because he's used to being submerged in goo.
Right.
And he says cheerfully, I believe in Horde Prime.
I love this. And also, like, apparently Jell-O is just something that they eat in space.
Right.
Like, this just keeps getting driven home
to
us.
The Velvet Glove
like,
is full of Jell-O.
Full of Jell-O. The Eternian, the first ones, all had Jell-O. Like, there's just Jell-O fucking everywhere. I guess it's just like what space food is. And we did, hammer on the crux of the conflict here when Adora was talking. Adora wants her Catra back, or at least some gratitude, and Catra does not want to be vulnerable. Like,
right,
that's
which is totally reasonable.
Totally reasonable. Everybody has their very reasonable feelings right now.
Yeah. Also, you're not just going to change someone's entire personality overnight, as Glimmer points out.
Exactly. I had a question for you about a single line, and I was wondering if you knew what it meant.
Sure.
So after Rog Hordak gets hit in the face with Jell-O, Adora kind of breaks Adora's like snit fit and gets confused. And it's like, what is he doing here again? And my question is it about him just being there in general? Like, or is it about him, like, being in the kitchen with Glimmer? Because Glimmer answers it like, oh, it's about being in the kitchen with me. But, like, Adora is kind of asking the question we all have, which is, really? This guy?
Right.
I
mean, they keep asking that throughout this episode because in the beginning of the episode, Bo had said that they couldn't leave him behind.
Right.
And it's okay because, I fried him and scrambled his brain.
Right.
And now Glimmer, and in that first scene, Glimmer was the one who had been kind of uncertain about whether it's okay for him to be around.
Right.
And now she seems to be on board because she's like, oh, it's okay. He's my kitchen helper.
Right. Well, then this is also another way that we can parallel Rog Hordak with Catra. Like, why is she here?
Right. That's true.
Why is,
Yeah, they're all trying to figure out what is our new assemblage.
Right.
Is everyone who's here belong here?
Right.
Who are we all to each other? Is this our team? Is it all okay that we're all here together?
Yes. Yeah.
I hadn't really thought about it until you asked, but, I think those things all make sense.
Yeah, I do too. I'm glad that we kind of worked that one out together.
Yeah.
Yay. This is when we learned that Rog Hordak doesn't really eat. He just pulls nutrient-rich amniotic fluid out of his pocket, which apparently he, ran off the ship with it in his pocket.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he already had it in his pocket.
Right.
Maybe they always have some in their pockets all the time.
That's what I was thinking. Or, they have, a special, compartment in their robot arm or something. I don't know.
Right,
anyway.
Little snack pocket.
Yeah, a little snack pocket. Anyway.
Yeah, and remember I said in the last episode that I remembered that this is what they subsist on when Anthony was like, maybe they have, monk stuff on the ship and they have really good beer and food. I was like, no, they only eat amniotic fluid.
Yeah. And
it makes sense that their lives are entirely utilitarian. So why would they ever eat for pleasure or experience physical pleasure?
Right. Also, they only need to subsist on amniotic fluid because they're essentially just they're always in embryonic mode until they're activated. So they're always embryos until they're activated, and their real activation is when their bodies, when Horde Prime shifts his body into theirs.
Yeah, I mean, they're drones.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Glimmer is not down for eating amniotic fluid.
I don't blame her.
So how about some 1,000-year-old rations?
Yep.
That's probably better.
So let's see. What do we have here? Does space food expire? This one is dehydrated protein slaw.
Yum.
Doesn't sound that. I've had worse. It's like TVP, right? Is that what we're...
I think this is probably a lot worse than TVP. Okay. To be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, I might have a hard time forcing myself to eat that.
I don't know.
When I was a kid, I went to a camp that I really loved, except that the food was really bad.
Oh, yeah.
So I asked my mom to put me on the vegetarian list. Because so this was the early 90s. So even the vegetarian list just meant, like, they didn't even have veggie burgers. This is early 90s. You could get a hard-boiled egg from the little, kitchen window if you're on the vegetarian list. So I asked my mom to put me on that list so that if I really couldn't force myself to eat the dinner, I could just go get a hard-boiled egg.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I am not a picky eater. I didn't think I was a picky eater until I went to that camp, because I was like, I would eat whatever my parents cook. I don't make them make me a different dinner than whatever they're eating. I'll eat whatever they eat.
And then you learned that your parents actually eat decent food.
And I learned that some people aren't good cooks.
Yep. Yeah. And some people just eat dehydrated protein slaw and amniotic fluid. And you need more than that. You need a hard-boiled egg.
I might lose a lot of weight on that trip if those were the only options. Dehydrated protein slaw and amniotic fluid.
Well, I mean, as we learned later in the episode, they find a way to make it work.
Yes, Glimmer makes a delicious meal out of questionable ingredients.
I'm going to talk about when we get there, because I don't get it. Anyway.
But they are interrupted from their food store hunt by Bo booping onto the comm screen, telling them they better get in here meaning back up to the bridge. So Glimmer and Adora bounce, but not before Glimmer leaves Rong Hordak her apron, making him feel like part of the team, which he seems to appreciate because he is a little cutie.
And also, the apron in First Ones, it says, smooch the chef.
Oh my God.
On the apron. So kiss the cook, smooch the chef.
I fucking love that.
Yep.
I love that you always have those details ready to bust out.
I am a nerd.
That is fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. So now we are on the bridge where we have been very hastily called. And we need to know what's going on. Oh my gosh, there's so much going on. There's a bad going on. A very bad is going on.
Yeah, there are Horde ships coming straight for us. But it's got to be a coincidence, right? Because they can't track us.
Yeah, and I mean, like, is there a place that they can hide until they're gone? And, of course, Entrapta has a totally reasonable, definitely doable solution for this. That's not difficult or terrifying at all.
I mean, it is the best solution for the situation.
Sure. But it's still terrifying.
It is indeed. That sick asteroid field right over there.
Yeah, it would be really fun. I mean, a great hiding spot.
But Bo said I couldn't fly into it.
Yeah, I mean, Bo, he's not wrong here.
He's not wrong. But they're both not wrong.
They're both not wrong. Because as he, points out, asteroids, space rocks. And then he points to a control panel that's clearly fucked up and says ship falling apart. And as he says that, a piece of the ship just
a piece literally falls on the floor.
So, he has a decent point.
Oh, he does. He does.
But they really don't have anything else to do.
Yeah.
So Adora's like, well, you have to, make do with what we have.
Yeah.
Well,
nobody has a better idea, so it'll have to do.
Yep. So Bo locks in and gets ready for the ultimate driving experience. He has this look and this sigh that's like, it's so resigned.
I know, because the ship interface says that the projected course is not recommended.
And he's like...
And he says, acknowledged. In just the world weariest voice ever. And it's like, it's always got to be Bo who flies into asteroids.
And of course, and then he gets, strapped in this, super 80s style,
Yeah, it's this VR. Very cool VR gamer interface.
Yeah.
It's like a giant pink hollow bubble.
Yeah, and this is when I would be saying, I'm in, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So he's now completely strapped in. He is now one with this video game bubble that is going to be driving the ship through.
Yeah, all the asteroids are visualized holographically in the bubble with him, so he can see everything.
Yeah. So
it's pretty sick.
But, I can understand it being terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to do it. But I'm not a gamer.
Yeah, and I shouldn't drive anything. So between the two of us, I think it would just have to be Bo.
I mean, I am a great driver, but I have never tried to drive in space.
I would probably be a better driver in space.
Yeah, who knows?
Anyway, let's get back to the Whispering Woods near Elberon, where...
Indeed.
We're like, cool, there's going to be an awesome party. But they're on their way to this awesome party, and Mike is still doing the, hey, kid.
Yeah, he notices that Frosta is having trouble keeping up because her strides are so much shorter than everyone else's.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, has this never come up before?
I mean...
Like, why doesn't she just ride Swifty?
Yeah, I don't get it.
I know that we wouldn't get this bit if they had already addressed this, but I just think it's funny that somehow this has never come up.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is another hair hole spacesuit type of situation.
Yeah, it's fine. So Micah offers her the option to ride on his shoulders, just like Glimmer used to do. But Frost, of course, is offended because that's little kid stuff.
I think it sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, but you and I are not insecure about being perceived as little kids.
No, I'm just short.
Yeah. And, I do understand Frosta's position and her insecurity. Because, like when you have been forced to grow up really fast, really young.
Yes.
It can make you very resentful then to you to be like, oh, but we want you to have the opportunity to enjoy your childhood. It's like, oh, now you want me to enjoy my childhood?
Yeah.
Fuck you.
And it's also very, like, patronizing. It's like, I've been doing these things, and you don't have to treat me like a child that can't.
Right. I'm not really a kid. I am the fucking ruler of my kingdom, and you need to treat me with respect.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so I understand why she has these hostilities. And I also understand, that Micah can't see that and he's just trying to be nice to her and he doesn't get it.
Yeah. I mean, Micah's still learning how to people. And
he's learning how to people after a long time of not peopling.
And learning how to kid is a whole other language.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Swifty singing. I'm not going to lie. This is probably my least favorite Swiftwind song, but I like the way that it trails
I really
off.
like it.
It's not my favorite, but the end where he's like, hey, what are all the drones? I think that's hilarious.
Gonna beat those bots and smash some drones, then eat me some ice cream cones. And then as he flips and sees the creepy empty town, he's like, hey, where are all those drones?
And I like that. I think that part's really fun.
Yeah, it really works.
Yeah.
So they roll up on this creepily empty town and catch some very bad vibes.
Super bad vibes. Jenny, do you want to talk about these vibes?
Yes. So, they look across this creepy empty town green down to the town celebration hall, which, the door squeaks open. And then we have tall and small mayor wives.
Love them.
Who come out looking unnaturally calm and sedate, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And small mayor says, welcome to Elberon, rebel heroes, in a creepy flat voice and similarly flat expression that is no expression at all.
Right. And I think, remember the last time we saw Mayor Wife of Elberon, she was very high-strung.
She was extremely high-strung, and her tall wife was extremely gregarious. Like, oh, welcome to Elberon, heroes.
Right, yeah, exactly.
She would be the one who'd be, like, slapping everybody on the back.
Yeah, so this is fucked.
Yeah, so this is super fucking creepy. Micah says they came as fast as they could because the Horde, right? Supposedly?
Yeah, like, shit's broken. Where's the Horde?
Yeah, so Small Mayor says, you are mistaken. I'm so sorry we made you worry, and you came all this way. Why don't you stay for supper?
Oh, no, something doesn't seem right here, Jenny.
So, yeah, things are bad vibes. Bad vibes are, like, creeping up super fast. But our buddies seem to have only the smallest of misgivings at this point that pass almost instantly.
Right, like, did these people Swifty should remember that these people are not like this, but he's
he does. But as soon as they invite him to dinner, he's like, yeah, great. Love it.
Let's go party, right?
Yeah. And Micah's still hoping to win Frosta over with cake. Do kids not like cake anymore?
I mean, that's fair. I'll probably say the same thing. I'd be like, no, dude, I'd say that to an adult. I don't know why you're so mad at me. Cake is great.
Yeah, well. But as soon as they get inside the town hall, the vibes are way, way off. Like super horror movie level
off.
And we will get back to this very shortly. But first, a quick boop back to Mara's ship.
Yep. So we're on the ship and, Bo's driving, doing an okay job.
Flying through some asteroids. La 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 la. Everyone's freaked out except for our good friend Entrapta, who has literal stars in her eyes. She's so happy. And you know, I'm happy that she's happy.
Yeah, they're having a great time.
Find your joy, girl.
Find your
wherever
joy.
you can in this fucked up world.
Yeah, she's having a great time.
So Bo says that they should be safe in here because even if they're looking for us, we'll be impossible to spot amongst the asteroids.
Yep.
And what happens immediately after that?
Well, they get spotted.
They get hit. Yeah. Many direct hits immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not doing great. And while this is happening, Catra is in her room and all of a sudden gets more flashes. She's like
Well, she hits the back of her neck when the ship is jolted from that hit.
Uh-huh.
And it's immediately after she hits the back of her neck when we see her having a big flash.
Yep. The flashes from the chip happen when she gets hit in the back of her neck. Catra's big ol' PTSD is kicking in again.
And it's like extra supercharged PTSD because it's being aided by the chip.
Right. Well, I mean, the chip is the metaphor, right? Like
it's forcing, imagine having PTSD flashbacks forced on you by a mechanized thing that was attached to your nervous system.
I mean,
it's extra horrifying.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she wouldn't have PTSD anyway. Obviously, she would.
No. I agree. I'm just saying that the chip is both the physical manifestation and, it's yes, it's bringing her these memories, but the chip itself is kind of the physical manifestation of the metaphor.
Yes,
so
definitely.
We're really having the physical manifestation of the metaphor just zapping out, when the ship gets hit and Catra gets banged around.
Yes. And so what she's seeing is the bot armies that are marching on the ground on Etheria and the space invasion forces looming over the planet. She's seeing that happening in real time. It's not just a flashback of what she experienced.
Yep. So she's seeing what's going on. She's putting the connections together, what's happening. While this is going on with Catra, Darla informs us that they have taken damage and hull integrity is at 60%.
Yes. And while everyone else on the bridge is trying to figure out how the Horde found them and what are they tracking.
Mm-hmm. And then we have Entrapta saying, well, something is sending up a signal. That's what they might be following. And Adora kind of puts it together and then takes it a lot further than she needs to, where she's like, those flashes Catra's been getting, the signal's coming from her chip, isn't it? And she just grabs Entrapta and hauls her away, and Entrapta's like, wee! So she grabs Entrapta by the hand and, wee! And then just lets it all out with, once again, Catra is ruining our lives. And I'm like, you are taking this way harder than you need to be, Adora.
I mean, she's just venting.
I know. But then she just kind of snaps at Bo when Bo's like, Entrapta hasn't fixed the shields. And she's just like, try not to hit anything.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to balance. It's well, they're not going to stop attacking us until we get rid of this chip.
Right.
But, we need the shields to not die during the attack, but they're not going to stop attacking. It's like a chicken and the egg situation.
Exactly. I think Adora's making the right strategic move there.
Yeah, and as soon as she exits the room with Entrapta, right before that scene ends, Bo and Gliver give each other a look. A super quick look that's yeah, we are not getting in the middle of this lesbian drama.
I have that as a gayest moment.
Yeah, definitely.
No. We've it's kind of like the look that they give each other at the end of Save the Cat, where it's like,
yeah.
We're
this
not getting involved.
Gay.
This is gay. This is the other part of this is gay. This is their drama. So, gay.
Yep. That's like my friend's kid that I picked up from school today, telling me all about the middle school drama.
Aww.
It's some things never change.
Nope.
But now we're going to boop back to Pod Elberon.
So now we are in Pod Elberon, and shit is weird here, Jenny. It
is extremely weird. The townsfolk are recreating very quietly and sedately.
Yeah, this party sucks.
They're clapping in slow unison.
It's so weird.
The children are rolling a ball back and forth in perfect slow rhythm. And some are playing with their dolls by just shaking them lightly up and down in a way that suggests this is how you play with a doll.
Right. It's like when you watch old movies and, it's also a Buffy quote, I'm just going to pretend to drive by gesturing emphatically. And it's just
Yes! So our buddies are finally noting that something very weird is going on.
Yeah, the
and I
vibes
think,
are off.
Meth, that this would be the perfect time for us to discuss Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
So if you listened to the last episode, you heard that Jenny has a particular affinity for the film that she's about to discuss. So Jenny is the Professor Smartbrain today.
Thank you.
So take it away, Professor Smartbrain, Jenny.
Yes, thank you. So I'm going to start with probably the most iconic quote from this film. This is what the protagonist says right near the end, practically to the camera, breaking the fourth wall. "Look, you fools! You're in danger! Can't you see? They're after you! They're after all of us! Our wives, our children, everyone! They're here already! You're next!" And he says, "You're next," straight to the camera.
Pointing to you.
So, Invasion of the Body Snatchers is a 1956 American independent sci-fi horror film based on a 1954 novel by author Jack Finney. There have been several remakes. Invasion of the Body Snatchers in 1978, Body Snatchers in 1993, and The Invasion in 2007. There's also an ABC TV series called Invasion in 2005, and a Disney Plus series that just came out this year, 2025, called Goosebumps: The Vanishing.
Oh, wait, they did like a Goosebumps version, like with R.L. Stine?
Yeah, it just came out in January of this year. I have not seen it.
Oh, we should watch it.
Yeah. So the original 1956 movie was directed by Don Siegel, produced by Walter Wanger, screenplay by Don Mainwaring, starring Kevin McCarthy and Dana Winter. The entire film was shot in 23 days on a budget of $382,000, which
like
today would be just under $4.5 million.
Yeah.
Which is still a small budget.
Yeah.
Relatively small budget for an independent film. For context, Get Out was made for $4.5 million in 2017.
Okay.
It was selected in 1994 for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress for being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. Mm-hmm. And it explores the same themes and allegories as the 1951 American sci-fi novel The Puppet Masters by Robert A. Heinlein, which was also made into a film in 1994 starring Donald Sutherland. But, that was never anywhere near as famous. But you might have heard Body Snatchers is this, basically the same as The Puppet Masters. Mm-hmm. Symbolically, it deals with all the same themes. Mm-hmm. It's just slightly different alien mechanism. Puppet Masters, the aliens are little parasites that attach to the back of your neck. And Body Snatchers are pods. We'll get into it. But, they're very, very similar.
Wait, isn't Bad Eggs like that? The Buffy episode Bad Eggs, where the animals attached to their necks?
Yes. There have been many other examples
or this.
in TV and film that riff on this. Yeah. They're either a nod to it or, they're very similar. And actually, there was a 1958 film called The Brain Eaters that bore such a strong resemblance to the Puppet Masters novel that Heinlein sued them for plagiarism. And he asked for $150K, but he only got $5K in the settlement.
All right.
So the premise of the film Invasion of the Body Snatchers is there's basically a sneak attack alien invasion in a small California town via alien plant spores that have fallen from space and grown into pods, each one capable of producing a visually identical copy of a human. As each pod reaches its full development, it assimilates the physical traits, memories, and personalities of each person sleeping near where the pod was placed until only the replacement is left. It's unclear what happens to the original body of the person that it replaces. Does it just shrivel up and wither away? Does the pod person that comes out murder the original person? They're kind of vague on that detail.
Yeah.
But that person is gone. These duplicates, however, are devoid of all human emotion. Little by little, a local doctor uncovers this quiet invasion and attempts to stop it. And so there are two fairly contemporary films that I thought of that can be viewed as remakes of Puppet Masters or Body Snatchers. One, they're both from 1998. One is The Faculty.
Yes,
which
I was going to talk
iconic,
about that. I love that movie.
Has an amazing cast. Highly recommend it. And the other that is less famous, but also pretty good, is Disturbing Behavior.
Oh, yeah.
And although Disturbing Behavior, it ends up not being an alien invasion. It ends up being like a mad scientist who's doing mind control experiments on the teens. But the underlying metaphor and the social anxieties are all the same. As a quote from Josh Hartnett's character in The Faculty, I didn't even have to look this up, I just remember it. If you wanted to take over the world, would you come in guns blazing or would you sneak in the back door? That's basically, how these movies work. It's like, you roll into this town and everything seems a little off. The aliens don't, it's not like Independence Day where they're like, we're here to fuck you up, They sneak in subtly.
Yeah.
And even if you've never heard these movies before, you've probably heard the expression pod people, referring to the emotionless duplicate drones. So this is where it comes from. And when I was reading, in preparation for this episode, I read the Wikipedia article, I read the TV Tropes article. And one of the things that I read that I was like, oh yeah, I remember that, because I haven't seen this movie since I was very little, because it freaked me out so much. One of the things that I remembered is the main character, Miles, and his girlfriend, Becky, they have to pretend to be pod people to walk through town, like pretend to be a zombie to walk through the herd of zombies safely. So they have to pretend to be emotionless drones like all the other pod people. And the girlfriend gives them away when she screams at seeing a dog get hit by a car.
Oh,
so they're all like, you're not emotionless. You shouldn't be bothered by that.
Oh, that's terrifying. That is existentially terrifying.
Yeah, right. So it occurred to me that part of the reason that this movie upset me so much as a kid is because I was afraid to fall asleep, because I was already afraid to fall asleep.
Right.
But the other reason is because it's very distressing to imagine that, like, you're not allowed to express emotions. You have to pretend to be an emotionless drone to get by in a world of emotionless drones. That you might wake up one day and be the only human being left surrounded by all these other people that aren't really people anymore. That's pretty freaky, too.
Yeah, that's fucking terrifying.
And there's a great quote that I read in one of these articles that I want you to think about. Katra talking about how Prime took away all her pain in the last episode, as you hear this quote. One of the pod people says how their new world will involve no emotions, no love, no grief, no beauty or rage or pain, nothing. So that doesn't sound like death at all.
No, it doesn't. Does
right?
it?
And I mean, that sounds a lot like what Katra said in the last episode.
Yeah.
And also, this is invoking what TV Tropes call the world of silence trope. And this fits in perfectly with what we know of Horde Prime. And so this is what TV Tropes says about the world of silence. This is a unique kind of dystopia, a world with no conflict and no infighting, but in which people have no emotions and no sense of self. Usually seen as a fate worse than death for the entire world. The most understandable reason for why this happens is when the well-intentioned extremist villain, with a utopia justifies the means thought pattern, thinks that the problems of the world lie in the evils of free will. What happens here is that the world becomes an empty and silent place. Maybe all humans are extinguished. Maybe they're all put in a stasis or turned into mindless beings. Maybe the whole world is put in a kind of temporal stasis. Whatever happens, it's usually not good. Usually this is what happens when the antagonist is certain that the world is a sick and twisted place and that there is no way to make it any better without a complete overhaul. Humans are bastards is often a main theme in the story. Either way, it's up to the protagonists to try and stop the antagonist before it all goes to hell by showing that people aren't as cruel and evil as the antagonist thinks they are. If a final battle is involved, it can sometimes be seen as a humanity on trial kind of scenario. So that really does sound like Horde Prime's whole MO.
Yeah, it also sounds like Jasmine from Angel.
I never watched all of Angel, so I'll take your word on it.
Yeah.
But it also sounds a lot like Thanos.
It sounds like Thanos. It sounds like, I mean, that is like...
Yeah, it's a trope.
It's a trope. It's a fantastic trope. Also, thank you for bringing up The Faculty, which is one of my favorite horror movies.
Yeah, I love that movie. It has an amazing cast.
The amazing cast and the conceit that drug dealers will save the universe is just fantastic.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it's a really good time. Yeah. It's got that great like horror comedy blend that I enjoy.
Yeah.
My mom and I both enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a good one. If you want to watch a really good 90s horror movie, it's written by Kevin Williamson, who's the guy that wrote Scream.
That's right. And
it's also pretty gay, because he was pretty gay, and his stuff always has that kind of undertone of gayness to it.
Yeah, I mean, Clea Duvall's in it.
Although
her character is not gay, which is kind of sad, but I mean, you cannot fully remove the gay from Clea Duvall.
You really can't.
Anyway, but back to Body Snatchers. It's interesting. The original intended ending got changed because the studio execs were not happy with it. They made them add a framing device. So basically, the director and screenwriter were both happy with the original ending as shot. It did not include any flashback framing. It ended with Miles, the main character, screaming as truckloads of pods pass him on the road.
Oh, gosh.
But the studio, wary of a pessimistic conclusion, insisted on adding a prologue and epilogue, suggesting a more optimistic outcome to the story, leading to the flashback framing. So in this version, the film begins with Miles in custody in a hospital ER, telling a consulting psychiatrist his story. And then in the closing scenes, the pods are discovered at a highway accident, confirming Miles's warning, and the authorities are alerted, likely stopping the pod distribution and resolving the extraterrestrial threat.
Oh.
So, regarding these forced changes, Mainwaring scripted the framing story, and Siegel shot it in September 1955 at the Allied Artists Studio. And then in a later interview, Siegel complained the film was nearly ruined by those in charge at Allied Artists who wanted a preface and ending that I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
In his autobiography, Siegel added that Wanger was very much against this, as was I. However, he begged me to shoot it to protect the film, and I reluctantly consented. So, that's interesting.
Huh. Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah. And there are many examples, as we've already discussed, of the pod people trope story across TV, film, cartoons, etc. And you can probably think of many on your own, but I listed a couple here. In season 1 of Star Trek The Next Generation, there are 2 episodes called Coming of Age and Conspiracy, where alien parasites that crawl into your ear secretly take over Starfleet leadership, and the Enterprise has to infiltrate the conspiracy, bring it to light, find a way to save the day, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And then in the animated show Amphibia that our friend Aria told us about recently, there is a fun storyline about a character named Apothecary Gary, voiced by Tony Hale, who's hilarious.
That's awesome.
And he's a parasitic mushroom that needs a host body to live on their head. And he disperses his spores among a population to control them in a hive mind situation. But then eventually he finds a community of gardeners who want to be in communion with his spores because it makes them better gardeners to be in touch with the plants on a deep psychic level.
I love that. That's like a good way to do it.
Yeah. So it's a fun twist. And I'm sure that people can think of many other examples. You know, you mentioned that episode of Buffy that I had forgotten, Bad Eggs. So there's so many examples.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to finish with a little bit of commentary throughout the years that people have given for the original film. For the BBC, David Wood summarized the circulating popular interpretations of the film as the sense of post-war anti-communist paranoia is acute, as is the temptation to view the film as a metaphor for the tyranny of the McCarthy era. Danny Peary in Cult Movies pointed out that the studio-mandated edition of the framing story had changed the film's stance from anti-McCarthyite to anti-communist. Michael Dodd of The Missing Slate has called the movie one of the most multifaceted horror movies ever made, arguing that by simultaneously exploiting the contemporary fear of infiltration by undesirable elements, as well as the burgeoning concern over homeland totalitarianism in the wake of Senator Joseph McCarthy's notorious communist witch hunt, it may be the clearest window into the American psyche that horror cinema has ever provided.
Damn.
Despite a general agreement among film critics regarding these political connotations of the film, actor Kevin McCarthy said in an interview included on the 1998 DVD release that he felt no political allegory was intended. The interviewer stated that he had spoken with the author of the novel, Jack Finney, who professed no specific political allegory in the work, which is interesting to note.
Yeah.
And in his autobiography, I Thought We Were Making Movies, Not History, producer Walter Mirisch writes, people began reading meanings into pictures that were never intended. The Invasion of the Body Snatchers is an example of that. I remember reading a magazine article arguing that the picture was intended as an allegory about the communist infiltration of America. From personal knowledge, neither Walter Wanger nor Don Siegel, who directed it, nor Dane Mainwaring, who wrote the script, nor original author Jack Finney, nor myself saw it as anything other than a thriller, pure and simple. So it just goes to show that once you put art into the world, you don't own how people will interpret it.
Yeah, I mean,
there's always going to be multiple layers of signification.
Right, that's death of the author.
Yeah, and just like with language, this is a question of semiotics.
Absolutely,
meaning signs and signifiers. If you read a certain set of meanings onto an object or a work of art and a critical mass of people agree with your reading, then it is a real and legitimate reading. And nobody can take that away from you, even the creator. And it can mean other things, too. It can even mean contradictory things.
Right. as you mentioned.
One movie can be an allegory for American anxieties about communism and McCarthyism at the same time.
Right, yeah.
And maybe also Horde Prime and maybe also zombies.
That's true, because that's what we have going on here, right? It's like pod people and zombies.
So it's a very rich text.
Yeah.
And it has given a lot to American cultural life and psychic life and continues to be fruitful. And that's all I have to say about that.
I absolutely adored that, Jenny.
I'm so glad.
Thank you for talking about pod people and Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
My pleasure. Thank you for letting me wear the Professor Smart Brain hat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, we got some pod people shit going on here. We got some...
Yes, so we are heavy into pod Elberon.
We are in pod Elberon. So we have some pod people. They're like, I don't know, guys. What's going on? There are pod people here. And we have the mayor doing this fantastic horror, this shot of just the mayor's, like, you know, from the shoulders up saying, it's getting dark outside. You don't want to be in the dark. And it's like, huh? You know, because we have the whole thing about the dark and the light there. But I just love that you don't want to be in the dark. And it's like, no.
Yeah, and I think before, I'm not sure if it's right before that or right after that, but my first bullet for when we get back to Pod Elberon is that Natasha finds Spinny after having just lost her for a minute.
Oh, it's after that.
Spinny seems a tiny bit disoriented and shifts her neck around and says that something weird just happened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure that's totally fine and nothing to worry about.
It is totally weird. I mean, it's totally fine. Nothing was wrong. Nothing is wrong. So things are terrifying. Our intrepid heroes on Etheria want out. And
yeah, since they're not needed here, there's no threat. They should probably just bounce.
And it seems like the mayor is like, no, wait, this party is just getting started. Our guest of honor hasn't arrived. Stay and join us. And then we have the eyes.
Oh, we also skipped over Swifty saying he doesn't know what happened to these guys. It's like they've been replaced with totally different people.
Yeah, yeah. So Swifty notices
that the vibes are real off.
Vibes are real off.
And then finally, Small Mayor, I believe, says that they should stay and join us in the light of Horde Prime.
Ah, that's scary. And her eyes light up, glowing.
Yeah, and
like,
all the green eyes are revealed then.
And it's like, okay, what the fuck's going on?
Big nope.
Big nope. But
big nope.
We forcefully get noped out of there as we transition back to Darla and Catra.
Yeah, and the way they cut it, they make it, they suggest very much, Catra opens her eyes and it's like she's just seen this.
Yeah, yeah. It's like she had like not just a flash, but a full vision of what was happening. Like the way that they cut that. Yeah. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. I love the way they do cuts on this show. It's so masterful.
It is really well done. Gotta love a good editor.
Amen. And she puts her hands in the back of her neck like she's trying to claw the chip out.
And it's making that horrible noise. I hate it. So,
I didn't notice the chip making a noise.
Yeah, there's like a clinking noise. And
oh, right. Yes. Her claws on the chip.
Her claws on the chip make a horrible noise.
Yes.
She's going through it right now. And the door opens while Catra is super going through it. And we have Adora dragging Entrapta into the room.
Mm-hmm.
And Catra immediately is reacting. It's like, what is she doing here? I told you I want to be alone. And she has all the fear and all the guilt on her face. And Adora's like, nope, actually, it's all business time.
Mm-hmm.
And while Entrapta is using her prehensile hair to fix the bed, she like picks up the bed and the like that Adora flipped over and like sets everything up again. And Adora's like, okay, Entrapta is going to remove your chip. And then Entrapta
Catra does not consent.
She definitely does not consent and is like, she's going to kill me. And Entrapta, who puts her mask on before she puts her mask on to start her surgery, she flips it up and is like, why? Why would I hurt you? Oh, you mean it's because you sent me to Beast Island, stole my work, and used it to rip a hole in the fabric of space and time? I get it. And then...
Right.
This is great. And
it's a great moment.
She shuts her mask and all of her hairs brings out all of these crazy tools.
Right.
One of them is like a saw, and there's
it's like every terrifying mad scientist tool comes out at once.
And they're buzzing and they're shing and all this stuff. And it says, she said, hold still. Right. And I have this as a gayest moment because Entrapta just rolls in with all of her tools.
All of her robosexual tools?
All of her tools. So...
yeah, I can't fault that.
Yeah, and so of course Catra's like, stay away from me because
vocally does not consent.
Yeah, because okay, like I know Catra is definitely going through and has an emotional reason, but also if somebody came in and was just like hair ablazing with like 6 different kinds of saws, I would be like,
yeah, I would be on Team Catra right now too if Entrapta came at me like that.
Let's back this up, shall we?
Yes.
But Adora knows that they have better things to do, and perhaps Catra really does need to have a little wee bit of surgery. So she walks up to Catra and corners her and, just lays it out for her. Horde Prime is tracking that chip. He's coming for us right now. And Catra tries to, take a swing at her. Adora grabs her wrist and pins her against the wall and says, so grow up and let us remove it or we're all dead. And I have this as a gayest moment because I know it's not really supposed to be super gay, I guess. But Adora grabbing Catra's wrist and pushing her, like pinning it against the wall. It reminds me of Buffy and Faith.
That's fair.
Buffy
I think the eye contact is very gay.
Yeah, it is. The eye contact. And it reminds me of the scene where Buffy puts Faith's knife up against the wall next to her. And it's very like the two of them are looking at each other. And the
I
the
definitely
fight or
know
fuck,
the moment you mean. Of course.
So this is very, very gay for me. I have this as gayest moment.
Absolutely. I had it too for the eye contact. So we can just roll those up in a nice gay ball.
Nice gay ball.
Like a truffle.
It's a gay truffle.
The chocolate shell gay outside and the creamy gay center.
Love that. Love a creamy gay center.
And then the next moment is even gayer.
It is. Do you want to take this one?
Yes, I would love to.
Okay.
Because it starts out angry and ends up vulnerable. Adora says, we're doing this. Then if you think hiding from the people you hurt will make you feel better, we'll drop you off and you'll never have to see us again. And, she's so angry. And then there's this long pause with eye contact, where they're looking at each other angrily. And then she sighs dejectedly and her whole tone shifts.
Yeah, her body
into, this sort of like
and...
sad puppy vulnerability. She says, you'll never have to see me again. And then, Catra's whole demeanor shifts when she's like, oh, she's not mad at me. She's just sad. Mm-hmm. And she thinks that I'm mad at her. Mm-hmm. And then Adora starts to walk away. Oh, my God. Catra grabs her arm and at this point, they were eye to eye. And then Catra slid down to the floor.
Yes.
So Adora starts to walk away and Catra grabs her arm to stop her.
Yeah.
And we get another great POV shot. First looking down at Catra from Adora's POV, then looking up at Adora from Catra's POV, as Catra, who has grabbed her wrist, slides her hand down from Adora's wrist to hold her hand. It's a handhold moment, guys.
Handhold.
And says, please stay. And she starts out with her head down, and then she looks up into Adora's eyes at the moment that she says stay. And we all lose our fucking minds. And I would call that the gayest of the gayest moments in this ep, even though we don't always pick one gayest moment. This was like a really, really, really gay moment.
This is a really, really, really...
And Adora blushes.
Yeah. No, this is a really, really, really gay moment and an incredibly important moment in the series. This is actually the moment where the series, turns.
Yeah, and this is a moment where Catra shifts and chooses vulnerability.
And asks Adora to stay, and Adora does.
Yeah, Adora's been waiting for Catra to ask her to stay.
Exactly, and now they're finally there.
They're finally on the same page.
Jenny, I love this. I love each other, and they want to work it out, and I love them, and it's so gay.
Oh my God, our babies.
Our messy babies. They're getting there, Jenny. They're getting there.
I know, it's so good. It's so pure and wonderful.
They're so close. It
just goes to show, you're never too fucked up and damaged to have love and have good things.
Amen to that.
It's a lesson we all need to learn so many times.
We really do. Jenny, I also realized something. We never actually mentioned the fact that Catra is in the Horde style long boxer briefs and sports bra the whole time.
That's right. Those are the pajamas that Adora wears, too.
Yeah.
Whenever we see Adora in pajamas.
Yeah. And if we, in Don't Go, they actually reference this where they...
Yeah, I mean, they show them both in those pajamas in the illustration that goes with it.
Yes, and in the story, there's a line where Adora mentions, well, the narrator mentions that Adora had these particular pajama set put together because it was something that was very comfortable for her in the Horde and familiar, and so she gave Catra hers to wear. So
oh God, that's so gay.
I know. So just I
wearing
forgot to
each other's
that.
pajamas.
Wearing each other's pajamas because it's from something that's familiar.
Yeah, I love
and
it.
a shared memory. So gay, Jenny.
Oh, it's so gay.
But we are interrupted from this gay moment to go back to the pod people.
Yeah, I mean, you have to leave it at that moment. You can't top that gay moment. We have to leave it in that perfection.
Absolutely. And we go to a really terrifying place. This is like the oh fuck this place. So we're back at Elberon now.
Yeah, the villagers are just, worshipping Prime and trying to bring our buddies into his light like you do.
No big deal. And so they're like, oh, well, okay. So our team is like, well, fuck this. We need to get out of here. So they're fighting back.
Right.
And Frosta starts fighting very heavy and makes an ice fist and pulls back. And Micah runs up to Frosta and says, wait. And Frosta takes this as, stop treating me like a kid. You don't need to protect me. And Micah's like, I'm not. I'm protecting them. Mm-hmm. They're innocent people that have been taken over. We can't hurt them.
Right. They're still innocent Etherians.
Yeah.
And he finally wins her over.
Yeah.
When he tells her, you're the strongest one here.
Yeah. You need to use your powers to defend us.
Right.
Instead of us having to shelter you.
Right. Without hurting these innocent people who have become victims of Prime by becoming pod people.
Yes. So, this is such a good moment for Micah. It's an emotionally intelligent moment. It shows he's a good dad, and it shows he's a good commander.
Yeah.
Because he recognizes the strengths of the people in his army, So.
Absolutely. So Frosta tries to protect their team with a big old ice dome, but realistically, it's only a matter of time.
It's only a matter of time. And then we have our zombie movie moment where people are groaning and hammering against the ice dome, and we just see the handprint
on the outside of the ice dome.
And that's very 28 Days Later. It's like more contemporary zombie type of stuff.
It's very grim.
It's very grim. It's very straight out of a zombie movie. So yeah, they're there, and then we go back to Darla.
Yep. That's a very, very quick scene, and we boop straight back to Darla.
And we go back to Darla for some outpatient surgery, where Entrapta is doing her little, her talking to a recorder experiments. Adora and Catra are holding hands.
Yep. So Entrapta starts to remove the chip, but Catra says to wait, because she's still connected to the hive mind and maybe she can help.
Uh-huh.
Because Prime can see her, but maybe she can see him too.
Yes. And so she does this deep breathing meditation, goes into the terrifying mind palace.
Yeah. And Adora is against it.
And, there's a line here that Catra says, or it's it's him, he's still in there, he can see me. And that really resonated with me as an adult that has gone through some serious trauma with other people, that this is the type of thing that it's one of the thoughts that kind of goes through your head. Is you think that they can always see what you're doing and always know where you are because they are living rent-free in your head. And that really struck me this time. But also, this is literally true in this instance.
Yeah, I mean, imagine knowing for sure that this person really can see you.
Right. And so, that part struck me, but there's also the literal truth to it in this particular universe. And then she flips it and says, but maybe I can see him too. And I can find out what he's planning. And it's that small moment where you both see Catra taking control.
Ding ding.
But also it's one of those things where it's a nice little cognitive hack to have if this is one of the thoughts that goes through your head when you're dealing with this type of trauma. It's wait, no, I can take control.
But she's also making it pretty clear that she's doing it for Adora.
Yeah.
She literally says, Adora, you have to let me try, otherwise you're going to do something stupid and get yourself killed.
Uh-huh.
Just stay with me while I do it, okay?
No, she asked Adora to stay with her again, and she does, and they're
and
holding
she puts her hand
hands.
on top of Adora's on her shoulder, because Adora's hand is on her shoulder.
And they smile at each other, and then Adora's like, let's do this. And so Catra goes back into her mind palace, and, you know, every time she's, like, in, like, pain, Adora's there for her, and is like, you can do this, it's okay. And she says that he's angry, he wants revenge, he wants to make you hurt. And says, you know, clarifies that he's not attacking Etheria. He's taking over them.
It's something new.
It's something new. He's chipping them. He's chipping Etheria, and he's going to take control of all of them.
He's going to chip them all.
Yep. And also, I just want to point out that is a hell of an exposition scene. It's an incredible exposition scene.
Yeah.
Because that was just exposition. But the way that it was acted, the way that it was written, and it's all framed is like an exposition and also a super important emotional connection moment. And it was like exhilarating and terrifying.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's not just exposition. It's incredibly well-crafted exposition.
Yes.
Put into a nugget of like real emotional growth and like character development.
Absolutely. The writing in this episode is fantastic. It is a fantastically written episode, just the craft that is used in this episode. And I really wanted to like point out that specific part of the exposition scene.
Yeah. That's definitely something that you, as, you know, a narrative-minded person would have your eye on, but I'm really glad you pointed that out. Yeah.
Also, the idea that Horde Prime is shifting to the chips to chipping people instead of doing like a straight up invasion, like a violent, like sort of like, you know, martial invasion is still unclear to me if it was because of Adora or if that was his plan the whole time because he has pure hatred of the individual.
Well, it seems like chips are his thing.
It's like, exactly. It's like chips are his thing, but Catra's like, oh, he changed his plan and he's doing this to get back at you because he's mad.
It could be that, or it could just be that this is something new, just means this is something new to them. They've never seen anything like this before. Right.
So I was trying to like shake
it could be either way. It's kind of line writing.
Yeah. So, and both work, and it could be both, right? Like, you know, if he's been going across the galaxy for a gazillion years, he's going to have all sorts of things in his toolbox.
That's true.
So it could be both. And Adora really pissed him off more than somebody has pissed him off in a damn long time.
That's true also.
So
yeah, we don't know.
But I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. And then my last bullet for this scene after Catra has said he's chipping them, he's going to chip them all. I wrote, "Look, you fools, you're in danger. Can't you see? They're already here. You're next."
Yes.
Which is the quote from Body Snatchers.
From Body Snatchers, yeah. So we're there. And then, just as this, you know, as Catra wraps up that speech, kaboom! Something hits the ship. Catra and Adora grab onto each other.
They sure do, buddy.
Tightly, in a gay way.
Definitely not a heterosexual way.
There's nothing straight about this. They leap towards each other. They're like, okay, now that we're connected, we're never going to not be connected type of situation.
Yes. And then we have like a 2-second scene back in Elberon.
Yeah. So we have a space battle, and they're kind of fucked on Darla, and then we jumped back to Elberon for our 2-second scene. Where the mayor is pretty much spitting the Horde Prime byline.
Well, Prime is talking through her.
The bring peace to your planet, like just what you were talking about when you're talking about the Body Snatchers tropes. Swiftwind is like, hey, She-Ra, are you getting this? like, hello, pick up the phone. I know you're there.
Yeah, and Prime says that She-Ra can't save them.
Yeah, but he's wrong.
And that's all we get out of that 2-second scene. Then we boop straight back to Mara's ship.
And we get to Darla, and Darla lets them know that they're kind of fucked. The Hullis is staying...
Yeah, the ship is not going to withstand another full-on strike.
Yeah, they're kind of fucked. And then Catra turns to Adora pleadingly and says, Adora, please, I want to go home. And we squeak. Oh, yeah, and also me, our babies.
Yeah. And Adora says, we will. I'm getting us out of here. And the dramatic music swells.
Everything. So now we have cuts of like everything going to shit on Darla. Also.
Yeah, and Adora has one more important line. She says, Etheria needs us, and I won't let him hurt anyone else. And Meph, I think it's about time for a very special time.
I think it is too.
It's big damn lesbian hero time.
It is big damn lesbian hero time. And I would love to describe this new big damn lesbian hero time since we have a nice little focus on it this time around.
I would love to hear you describe this new and improved, beautiful, majestic transformation.
Adora stands up, walks like, in the foreground of Catra, sticks her arm out and says, Catra asks, where are you going? And Adora says, to send Horde Prime a message. She forcefully sticks her arm, like her hand out, and the sword manifests. It's just like, it's so cool. And she, she does her conjuring, her spell, her conjuring spell for the honor of Grayskull. And then we get our new She-Ra transformation sequence. And as you may have heard before, or noticed yourself, her new attire, the new She-Ra attire, shows traits from each of her friends. From Catra and Glimmer and Bow, and also her own traits, which was something that we did not have with the old mantle of the She-Ra, because it was placed upon her. This is one that she conjures from within herself. So,
that's right.
All this talk of love being the true magic of the universe and how we're stronger together is literally manifested in Adora's new She-Ra powers. Her boots have the wings of Glimmer. Her chest piece has Bow's heart. Her hair is her own. It is her own ponytail. It's super long because she still really loves the She-Ra's long, beautiful hair. So she's got a super long ponytail, but she has a super long ponytail and her poof. And her mask is Catra's old mask. I also want to point out a couple more things. Her new sword is less bulky because it doesn't have, it doesn't have the gem in it, and it's much less ornate. And it actually looks like an updated version, a sleeker, more angular version of the 80s She-Ra He-Man swords. If you want to look those up, you can see that. And also she's wearing pants. And it's a way cooler cape, and the whole outfit is sleeker and more mature looking. Her old She-Ra outfit looked like it was too big for her. It looks like she was taking on these big responsibilities that weren't hers. And she grew into it, and then she rejected it. And this is within her, this is her proportions. This is her inner vision of what She-Ra looks like. It's entirely hers.
I love that.
And of course, Catra's face is just pure gay awe.
I know.
And we all have this face, but Catra, of course, has 16,000 different more degrees of this face. But she just has this look of awe as Adora's gay rainbow light is shining on her face. And we've never seen Catra with this awe.
Because she's never seen the transformation not as an enemy.
And also
as someone who's under the protection of it.
And also, she's never seen this, no one's seen this transformation. She's never seen this transformation as something that she always saw the She-Ra as something that was controlling Adora. Like it was like this external thing. But as she sees this, she watched Adora take control of this and pull it from herself. So she is actually seeing this person that she loves become a kind of more like fulfilled person.
Yeah. This is something that comes from Adora rather than something that is happening to Adora.
Right. It's like she's seeing this oh, I see this. This is fully realized. This isn't something that happened to you. This is something you're making happen, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. I love everything you just said.
Thank you.
I also think that in the part of the transformation sequence where we see that heart shooting energetically out of her chest is especially significant. Because I feel like it's more than just the reference to Bow's heart as being part of her costume. I feel like it's really, maybe I'm reading into this, it's showing that the transformation is coming from her heart. Like an energetic heart blasting out of her chest. that's like, this transformation comes from her heart. It comes from love.
Absolutely. I completely agree. It is also a visual allusion to Sailor Moon because there's...
Which I've never seen, actually.
Yeah, it is a slight visual allusion to Sailor Moon.
Awesome.
Yes, I completely agree. And that is...
Yeah. And that lesbian smirk that she gives straight into the camera, sort of near the end, is like...
Yes. Yes. And then, Jenny, after this, she just fucking walks into space, but not after a fan service shot of her toned ass arms.
Oh my God.
Like,
I know.
they kind of do like the pan up shot and they just like kind of just like focus on the arms for like a microsecond. It's like, oh, hey, arms, what's good? Hi. You gonna pick me up and throw my bed? Okay. Like, hey, arms. And then we're back to Elberon.
Yes.
Things are terrifying.
Yeah, another very short Elberon scene. Possessed Mayor says, it's Prime, says, "Welcome, children. You will be reborn in Prime's image."
Yep.
But it does not go according to Prime's plan.
It really doesn't.
Because this is matching up with the transformation sequence. Mm-hmm. When She-Ra transforms, Swifty gets a massive glow up.
Massive glow up.
As he strikes a wicked, majestic pose, he blasts everyone around them with a giant energy bolt, and everyone gets blasted to the ground.
Good timing. So now we do the escapee. So they have to hustle the fuck out of there.
Yeah, so they're going to bounce, and we're going to bounce back to Mara's ship.
While Adora/She-Ra just decided to go walk into fucking space to do something with those ships.
Well, she's Captain Marveling the fuck out of these Horde bots.
Yeah, but before...
Captain Marvel's the only other person I know who does not need a spacesuit in space, and also, her hair is just glowing and flowing. Yeah. Those are two very Captain Marvel-y traits.
So she goes out there to kick some ass, and we're going to get into some detail about the amount of ass and how she kicks that ass. But while she's doing that, we are back to outpatient surgery land, where Entrapta is working on the chip and letting us know what's going on with the chip mechanically.
Yeah, and I tell you, I would not want that being done to me during the midst of battle while they're just bouncing around, with no shocks.
Oh, for real.
It's like doing your eye makeup in, stop and go traffic.
Yeah, exactly.
High stakes.
I was
on her nervous system.
Right, like I was, my example is going to be, it's like drinking hot coffee in like on a road that is full of potholes. You're just like, you're fucked. One wrong move and you're fucked.
This is a very high stakes situation.
It's a high stakes situation. So Entrapta lets us know that, yes, indeed, the chip is fused with Catra's nervous system, leeching energy, and a parasitic exchange. She lets us know that this is going to be a delicate process, not unlike putting on eye makeup while you're, driving or trying to drink coffee.
I mean, probably not while you're driving, but even if you're like in a car.
In a car, yeah. I've seen it happen. It's messy.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that. Also, meanwhile, Glimmer is helping Bo navigate the ship since, I guess he lost navigation and she needs to be there to like tell him where to go, and she's looking out the window, and she is wicked impressed, Meth, watching She-Ra leapfrog from asteroid to asteroid and just boop, destroy every Horde ship, easy peasy.
She just...
With hair flowing and glowing, like the demigoddess she is.
Both flowing and glowing and nary out of place anywhere. Like, I love that she fucking jumps on ships and stabs robots through the windshield.
Yeah, she doesn't even need to, like, she can just do that thing where she just, like, swishes her sword through the air and these energetic ribbons flow out and function as blasters.
But she's fucking pissed. And when she does, the jumping in and cutting the ships in half, she yells, "Tell Horde Prime this is from me." And, like, she's pissed. And I don't blame her.
Yep.
I mean...
She's putting her boot down.
She's putting her boot down. And She-Ra cares not for the crushing void of space.
No.
She's just...
She is... beyond the crushing void of space.
She's stabbing robots. She's making her own. The thing where she makes her own platform to leap from, the big ass gay, like rainbow energy whips. Gayest moment.
Oh yeah.
Incredible. This is some badass, like Captain Marvel, like fucking shit up in space shit right here.
Yeah, I mean, if you can walk through space without a spacesuit, what do you have to fear?
Right, exactly. She doesn't give a shit. She's She-Ra. She's protected by the magic of love.
Yes, exactly. And Bo would really like to know what's going on, but he probably senses the good vibes at this point.
Yeah, because he's just trying to...
Everybody's feeling pretty awesome.
He's just trying not to crash the car.
Yeah. So Glimmer is excited. Everybody's excited.
Everyone is excited. We go back to outpatient surgery, and we're almost there. And there's no more chip. It is removed. It won't be able to signal, and Catra is free.
Yeah, and Entrapta does this all with very little fanfare. She's like, boop, that's done, all set. And she's, ready to exit with zero ceremony.
And she's like, she's got to go check on Darla now. And Catra's like, wait, and has the moment, and with her tears in her eyes says, thank you, and I'm sorry. And Entrapta just comes over there and says, walks back and pats her on the head like a kitty and says, I forgive you.
Entrapta is extremely gracious and sincere with her forgiveness.
Yeah. Just want to jump back to Don't Go for a second. There is also a scene between Catra and Entrapta where Catra talks to Entrapta about, they forgave you. How easy was it for them to forgive you for all the things that you did? And it's just this really lovely back and forth about that. So
this is our penultimate scene. Bo and Adora are lying on their backs on the floor in the manner of people who are totally done.
Totally done. They are cooked.
Marveling that She-Ra is back. Like, really real back.
For reals, not for plays.
And then Entrapta joins them and cheerfully lies on the floor with them in the manner of someone who is up for lying on the floor, if that's what everyone else is doing.
Totally, I got that too. She's like, okay, floor time. Like, all right, cool.
Like, she doesn't seem burned out, but she's like, okay, I can do what everyone else is doing. We're lying on the floor, that's what we're doing. Okay.
I loved that. Floor time. So we have two burnt out people, one just enthusiastic, happy to be there person. And Ron Hordak just enters the room with a tray full of dumplings saying, brothers.
Yeah. Glimmer and Ron Hordak enter together with a giant plate of delicious food, and everyone is very cheered because when you are super done, food can be very cheering.
Also, I cannot think of anything else that I would want to eat after being super done and going and kicking ass in space than steam buns.
Yeah, that looks like fantastic comfort
That looks
food.
really fucking good. And everyone is deeply surprised that Glimmer could kind of bust something out this good. And I am deeply surprised that Glimmer can just bust out steam buns.
Yeah, that's not the kind of thing that, like, if you're kind of a bad cook and you have bad supplies and bad equipment, you're just going to whip it up, no problem.
Yeah, like
but
that.
Again, it's fine.
It's fine. I'm glad that you agree with me on this, because it's like, wait a minute.
Of course. We're not going to nitpick this after everything else that we have let go.
But you know what? It's a wonderful thing to share with friends. And they're having a wonderful meal together. And whether or not the food is actually good or the meal together is good, they're having a great fucking time.
Yes, they're just happy to not be in a super adrenaline charged situation anymore, out of danger, be able to just share food with friends and just
eat.
Sit in a circle on the floor and chill and eat together.
Yeah. Then the door opens up and Catra kind of meekly walks in. She's like...
She slinks in like a sad
she's
kitty.
Holding one arm and looking down.
And her ears are drooped.
Yes. And her tail is kind of wrapped around.
Yeah, it's just all defensive body language.
And she quietly sits behind them and pulls her knees up in a ball and is like, hey, can I? You don't have to say yes. But that is her position. And Glimmer and Bo look at each other and they just kind of scoot apart and they're like, hey, come sit here.
Yeah, they deliberately make room in the circle for her.
They invite her in.
And smile at her and invite her in to join them.
They invite her in. I love this part. Oh, because Glimmer gives Catra a steamy bun and she kind of just looks at Adora, who is just looking at her with the biggest love eyes.
Yeah.
And Catra's like, yeah, okay, I'll hang out with your friends. And then takes a little bit, chomp, hop. And it's so gay.
Yeah.
It's so gay.
It's a beautiful little scene.
Moment.
And then they all, it's a very brief moment of Adora, smiling at Catra. And that smile it's not like a gigantic smile. It's like a little smile. And it says to me, like, see, I told you that there was a place for you here.
Yeah.
And then they all just sort of resume eating and like the group chatter returns. So, they don't like over-focus on Catra.
No, they're just like, okay, now you can be part of this, but we're just chatting. And there's once again, to bring up Don't Go, there's a scene in Don't Go where Adora says that she was really excited to watch Catra eat real food for the first time.
No doubt.
And because she hadn't had anything other than, Horde food, other than the ration bars.
Right.
And
gray bars and brown bars.
And there's this really great back and forth where Catra's like, I've had real food before. Like, it was, you just needed to know where to get it. You were just too much of a goody two-shoes to find it. And it's like a really funny back and forth moment between the two of them, where Dora's like, oh, I could have, I could have had real food the whole time, but, of course, why would she, like, transgress and have bootleg food?
She's too much of a goody two-shoes.
So that, that little smile is nicely informed in that fic with that little tag on it. So
beautiful. Yeah, it's been way too long since I've read that fic. I'm embarrassed that I didn't have a chance to reread it to refresh myself for this episode, but I certainly will before our bonus episode. So now we're back in the Whispering Woods. Yeah, so that would be a perfect scene to end on if we didn't want to have a hook for the next episode.
We always need that hook. So we're back in the Whispering Woods.
Our buddies have successfully escaped Pod Elberon.
They have, but, earlier we saw that Spinnerella kind of left the group for a moment.
Yeah, and she said something weird happened.
Yeah, and Natasha was like, why did you leave me alone at this party? And she's like, I don't know, something weird happened. And she kept, like, rubbing the back of her neck. And nobody really thought that much of it, but maybe they should have.
Yeah, so, they're just chatting about, what are they going to do now? Yeah. They have to go back and save those folks, but they can't do that until they figure out a game plan. Swifty says that Shira will know what to do, and she's coming home, and he can feel it. And, Frosta resolves her little storyline with Micah by, reassuring him that he's a good dad, and Glimmer will be happy to see him. As long as he stops trying so hard.
And everyone has a good laugh.
Ha ha ha, it's all so wholesome. And then Natasha says, we don't know who we can trust now, but as long as we all stick together, we'll get through this. And she takes Spinnerella's hand, just as the wind moves Spinny's hair. And what do we see, Meph?
A chip.
Dun dun dun.
There's a chip.
Spinnerella has been shipped.
They have been infiltrated. No, Jenny, no.
It's too bad Spinnerella doesn't wear her hair up. There's no way anyone will ever see that.
Right? It's like, dude, your wife's not going to notice this.
Yeah, she actually does wear her hair up.
No, I know, also that. But she has like a long-ass ponytail, right? Like,
Yeah. It's very likely that her wife will probably see it or feel it because we are given to believe that they probably have a pretty active sex life.
We are given to believe that they are indeed physically intimate with each other. So, as we've learned from the beginning of this episode.
Yes. But it is what it is. We can't have the plot progress too quickly.
Can't have too much of that. Also, hair holes in a spacesuit.
Yes. And moonlight without a
sun. And how do their calendars work?
It's okay.
It's fine.
It's a cartoon.
So, hey, Jenny.
Hey, Meph.
What did we learn today?
We learned that invasion by pod parasite takeover could potentially be way more scary than just flat out murder. Maybe?
Yeah.
And I think we also learned that Shira's back, baby!
Yeah, we're all very excited about that.
We are super duper excited for our big damn heroes to come home and wrap this shit up.
Just really quickly. I think they're just going to be able to come right home and get it all done, and we're all going to win in the end with, minimal to no loss of identity.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's going to be a big queer love wins in the end scenario.
I think so too. Well, folks, if you liked what you heard and you want to get outpatient surgery with us, you can like and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast fix. You can also find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube, where you can like and comment and follow and give us love on all of those at HeyAdoraCast, or you can email us at heyadoracast@gmail.com. And if you hadn't already heard, we indeed have a Patreon.
Yeah, it's about to have a lot more super fun bonus content very soon. Great time to join the Patreon.
Very soon. So be a member of the Rebellion. You get fantastic perks. You're going to get bonus episodes. You're going to get Patreon-only live watches, video hangouts, fantastic parties. Just like Elberon, we just party on our Discord server like it's Elberon all day, every day, except for we talk about, queer resistance and philosophy. You can find a link to our Patreon, as well as a link to this week's Spotify playlist, Taking Control and Don't Go, in our show notes or at heyadora.gay.
That's right, folks. All of our stuff can always be found at your favorite website and ours, heyadora.gay.
That's right, .gay. And remember, now more than anything, queer joy is radical.
And queer love saves the motherfucking universe.
Yay! Ow! Pod people.
You're next!